Welcome back to Talkin Pitch Side. I'm your host, PJ, co-host Tony. We are back with another episode of MLS Transfer Saga, transfer news, and U.S. men's national team drama, because there's plenty of it right now. But before we get into that, Tony, have you gone to the grocery store and fought off all the crazy people doomsday prepping for some snow this weekend? Because here in the Midwest, if you're a listener and you're with us, they're saying Cincinnati might be getting like a foot to a foot and a half of snow this weekend, and I almost fought an old lady in the aisle today because people were getting after it in the grocery store. It was chaotic. It was 1:45. I was there, and the place was packed at 1:45. I was like, okay, one, you could say it about me, like, why aren't you working? It was my lunch break. Everyone relax. But then I was there being like, well, I was like, what are all of you guys doing? Like, well, why is everyone just available right now? I thought I was going to like cruise in. No, everyone's doomsday prepping because God forbid we're snowed in for a day.
That is so, I don't know, 20th century going to the grocery store. We're clickless warriors over here in my household. So yeah, I didn't fare it. I let somebody else fare it for me, and I paid the fee. Well, it's a yearly fee. We're on the premium.
We have it too. Yeah. We have it too. My only fear was we've done this before on this time, like where it's been like doomsday prepping time, and we've like done the delivery because we have like the thing where we get the delivery, and they substituted like 8 items last time we did it around this time, and that's what I was like. I'm just gonna go. I can go during my lunch break. Was still chaotic. Didn't help at all.
Yeah, Well, I think we've been stacking up a little bit, and the mindset is, and people don't get this, but you know, we're talking about 48 hours where you're going dark, right? After that, it's like, okay, if it's really that bad, yeah. I mean, if it's really that bad, well, then that's a shame. But like, you gotta come up with like 3, 4, maybe 5 meals in isolation zone, and it's like, okay, well, we got the frozen foods. We'll bust out the air fryer. We don't need to bust it out. It's always
power goes out.
Yeah. Well, if the power goes out, we still got gas, so we'll be okay there.
Okay.
Yep, gas stove. So we'll be all right there. But the pipes will definitely freeze. And actually, already had that happen to me today. So, or not today.
Oh,
what am I talking about? Not today. But before Christmas, when that last real cold wave came through, I had to fight a guy at Target for the last space heater to put in my basement.
And this was with power working. This was
power working, but I have an old house. Basement connects to garage that goes straight to the outside, so it's not very insulated, all stone, unfinished. And I think that did it in on the water. So I just had to throw the space heater on it for a while. But I was at Target. Woke up first thing in the morning, pounded down the door when they opened up, ran over there. They had one space heater left, and like I'm grabbing it, like, and here comes another guy looking just like me, like beanie on, out of breath, just like in distraught, and I was like, frozen pipe, and he said, yeah, and I said, I'm sorry. And I took it. And
no.
Yeah.
This poor guy. You guys should have just taken turns. You know, like, okay, you get it at 9:30. I'll get it at 8:30.
But you're going to have to come to my house. I do work. I had to go to work without a shower that day.
Oh.
The struggle bus. Yeah. So hopefully it's not that bad. It's over the weekend this time with the storm.
Yeah, we'll see. They're saying, you know, weathermen, I feel like, always exaggerate, but they're saying we're supposed to get quite a bit. So we'll see how it goes. But, okay. I'm sure everyone's done with us talking about weather for 4 minutes.
Yeah, that's the most banter we've ever had.
Yeah, let's get in to some MLS transfer news. And it's been a chaotic week since we last talked. Like, there's been some names out there that have now been signed that have some ripple effects in MLS. We'll start with Austin because I think this is a fun one. Former MLS player, went to Palmeiras for a little bit of time. Facundo Torres making his return, going to Austin. This is, for me, a great sign for Austin. I think it's going to be interesting how it all fits together. I think that's my concern with this. But I do think he's the type of player where if you get offered this opportunity, especially with what they went through this past year, I think you just jump at it because they need MLS proven players at this point, and that's what he is. I mean, he may not be the number one guy in a team at all times, and you can rely on him for everything, but he was the guy at Orlando for a little bit there. They won a trophy with him. He was reliable, 20-plus goals in a season, and I think that's what they need from him to make this a home run signing. I don't know if they're going to fully get that, and I want to see how he fits in with Vasquez and how that interlinking works, because there's a little bit of concern of like who's facilitating, because there's a lot of guys who want to eat and not a lot of guys who want to assist up top. And I think that's where my hesitancy is. But I do think, and I do know, Facundo Torres was a great player when he played in the MLS. And you hope that he's maybe even gotten a little bit better at his time with Palmeiras, like grown a little bit, and you can even see a little bit more of a jump. But I do think if you're Austin, or an Austin fan, this is exciting. I mean, like, you're not seeing the ownership sit on their laurels and now they're hesitant because of how last year went with those DP signings. You're seeing aggression and wanting to correct those issues. Time will tell if this was the right signing for that, but I do appreciate their ambition to go get an almost proven guy that has the ability to, for stretches in a season, carry your team.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the concern with Facundo Torres is when he was at Orlando, you're right, he was the guy. And a lot of the issue was that being the guy, he was good, even great at times, but wasn't really hitting that ceiling of excellent to take a team to a next level.
Mm-hmm.
And so going to Palmeiras, like you said, maybe a good thing. My understanding is he didn't really break through when he was there or find consistent minutes. And so it's probably a good move for him just to get back into, like you said, a familiar league, familiar faces, but also just plenty of consistency when starting. I mean, he'll be one of the guys, I guess we'll say, in Austin now. And I think from an Austin perspective, you really have to like that your offseason transaction has looked like getting Bukhari ripped off for a steal, and then slapping right in his place Facundo Torres, and really only paying like $2 million more, something like that. I think is roughly where that was reported. So really, we talk about the investment from Austin and buckling down, and like I think that's a little bit carryover from last year. And like this time last year, we were talking about being really excited about this Austin offense with how much they invested, and they sort of, I'm not going to say they got away with murder, but I think pivoted nicely for, not, I mean, comparatively, I mean, if they've dropped now $35 million or something like that, on all those players, $2 million, all of the $2 million of that have been recycled, like in this. So I like this move in that return for just a roster depth position. I think Vasquez sounds like he's supposed to get back, April, May-ish is the timeline. So, I mean, that's going to be exciting when he's in too. And I understand the facilitating concerns that you brought up, PJ. I think Owen Wolf has really, grown into his own, especially last season. And I think kind of the Austin season in general maybe put a damper on how good and how strong he really was. So, potentially now when you got Jaden Nelson on the left wing, Facundo Torres on the right wing, and now, it'll be Azuni to start at center forward. And then probably Vasquez once he gets healthy again. There's a lot of options here. So I'm thinking I'm going to fall for the trap and be excited about Austin's offense again coming this offseason. But that's not to say there's still questions. Like I just mentioned Azuni, he's not lived up to the hype. But what do you do about him? Is there a two-striker system they kind of run? Do you just stash him on the bench? How quickly can you get rid of him then because he's a designated player? It does kind of stir the pot a little bit with where they're heading. So I'm not saying you shouldn't, invest in Austin, but don't put all your chips in right now. But it seems like that it's a positive turn, and we'll see improvement from them this year so far.
Yeah, I think it is exciting as an MLS neutral to see Facundo Torres back in the league. And I think that's where the exciting part comes for me. Let's move on here to another major signing. Inter Miami are still at it, Tony, and they have filled that DP spot we have talked about quite a bit at this point. Herman Berterame is coming to Inter Miami from Monterrey. Mexican international is going to most likely be on the World Cup team. Like, that is the pedigree of type of player this is. Striker for 15 mil coming into this Miami squad, filling that central striker spot, which really a Messi filled a lot at the end of the year. I mean, Allende was, of course, like intertwined in all of that. They were very fluid in how they moved around, but interesting for them to go get out and out, just like, this is your number 9. And I'm really interested to see how this works. I know people are going to be reactive and be like, this is breaking the league. This isn't, like, they're bending the rules. This one is clear as day. Like, there's no, like, workaround that got them this. Like, they paid a ton of money, and they're paying him to be a DP, and it's about as ambitious as a signing for an MLS Cup champion team move you can make. Like, it is, if it works, it is a home run of a signing, and I think that you're getting a guy who's familiar with this region. I know he hasn't played in the MLS, but he's played against MLS teams in competitions, and he is familiar with the competitions they're going to be playing in and want to win, aka CONCACAF Champions Cup. And I think this is, with Messi and Allende and these guys feeding to him, you've got to imagine, like, he's going to be at the Golden Boot type status. Like, that's the type of vision I have for this signing, and it's going to be really interesting. And Miami just gets stronger, Tony. And this is all because, by the way, I just want to, we'll sprinkle this in. Thomas Avila is getting loaned out to Montreal, so that news just came out recently. So that is freeing up that DP slot because they're getting rid of the U22, and that's how this is being made official now, and probably will be made official in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, I think really what it comes down to me, I mean, obviously, it's a message to everybody, right? But I think it's a message to Luis Suarez and what his role is going to be this coming year as well. You know,
cheerleader.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So, and you know, we saw that in the playoffs as well. He didn't touch the field during the MLS Cup final. Those are things that, like, you know, you wonder, okay, is it just a rough patch for him, or what's the role now? And I mean, this is still a Miami team that is looking fantastic right now. Don't get me wrong.
And just to jump in real quick, like, this team, because of how good they are, needs depth, because some of these guys are going to be leaving for the World Cup. Some of these guys are going to be playing in a ton of competitions. So when you're making a push to win everything like they are, you need the Luis Suarez to be your backup striker. So when Berterame is gone and he's working with Mexico in March and doing things like that, like, they need a guy to fill in, and that's where I think Suarez's role is really going to be.
Correct. And imagine, you know, the faces on that poor Jamaican team's first round CONCACAF Champions Cup appearance, and they got to go up against.
Imagine
Suarez is starting, and it's like, oh yeah, he's our backup. Like,
he's our third. Yeah,
exactly. Your comment was interesting about, like, you know, Golden Boot with Berterame, because, like, in my mind when you said that, I kind of thought, but yeah, like, you're gonna, but you have Messi, like, he's gonna take all your goals. Allende, he's gonna take all your goals. But, like, we've seen, I don't think it was really last year, but the year before,
Suarez.
Messi and Suarez were in the top 5 for the Golden Boot for a really long time. They may have even finished both top 5.
This team's going to score a ton of goals. It's going to be ridiculous.
It's disgusting. And, like, I don't think I can refute, you know, that claim that he's going to be up there just in the leaderboard for that. Because, like you said, they're going to be all gas, no brakes. They have so much attacking talent. And adding him, I think, is getting a little bit younger, right, as striker, which is huge. It's the longevity. Yeah.
Oh, it's not Suarez old.
I was gonna say,
30.
like, it's not hard to get younger there, but you know, it's adding kind of that longevity, the more, like, innings 8, basically, you know, like, more minutes that they can take on, and divide and conquer, like you said, across all these competitions. So, but obviously reliable striker. The thing with Monterrey is that, like, when they get people, they immediately are trying to move them on. Like, that, you don't stay at Monterrey for a long time. He did stay at Monterrey for a long time. And I mean, there was a couple failed deals within there. RIP Cincinnati. That's all too near and dear to us. But like, I think it has something to say that, like, you know, he was at one of Mexico's biggest clubs for a really long time. he's gonna do well here in MLS as well. And then to finish off this point, just moving off Toto Aviles to Montreal. It's the last kind of piece in place that they needed in order to become roster compliant. We figured it was either going to be him or Segovia. Of course, it ends up being him, and there's kind of two trains of thoughts with that.
So many attackers.
Yeah, correct. Segovia probably higher sell on value, and you can use that to fuel a little bit of GAM and all of that. But Aviles is the one who was kind of weighing down a little bit heavier on this roster and what they're paying him, and him taking up U22 slot. So again, we've made these comments before, but this is them putting their chips in. They're taking the high risk moves for the win now mentality. Get rid of Aviles, keep the more expensive Segovia, even though we could have made more money off of him now. It's those kind of things, and that's what is just like, it's not Glaze, talking about Miami and how they've handled this offseason. Like it's been insane, and the Messi pull is real. You also have to imagine, like, another angle, we haven't talked about this yet, is Messi's getting older. The age gap between him and the guys breaking through from the academy and the young U22 signings. I mean, those kids were like 14, 12, when they first started watching Messi play pro. Especially if you're a young Argentinian, and then like watching him and then getting an opportunity like to play with him, like, yeah, that has some serious pull too. Like that's kind of understated, I think, in American culture. Like, I mean, maybe there's some comparisons here or there, but the way that Argentina idolizes this man, you grow up in that and then see like, oh, I can play with him. Like I can get to learn from him. Like that's unmatched. So a lot going on there, but all that to say, the method, there is method to the madness. We're seeing it pretty clear now. I think they're a straight shot. I'm not sure that they really have any moves left in them, but that's because like as soon as I said that out and into the stratosphere, they're gonna do more. So
Mascherano had said in his press conference today, he said we may not be done. So I'm not going to doubt anything at this point. Yeah. And what that screams to me and what they're able to do, and we'll talk about the rule changes later, is interleague transfers is what isn't capped. Like, you can do that as much as you want. So that's the type of move I could see them doing, because I've got him credit, because I think a lot of people look at their lineup and they go, look at all these Argentinians and look at all like these out of country players that have come in, and it's really against the MLS mold. They are doing a good job, in my opinion, of balancing. Go get the young guys that are not MLS proven, and they're going after a ton of guys that are MLS and CONCACAF proven. Like, they are, and I think they didn't do that initially when Messi came. I think they went after a lot of guys that were not MLS proven, and they didn't all work out initially. And I think that having a guy like David Beckham be a part of this, and having the leadership that they do, value MLS proven talent and MLS proven veterans the way that they do, is only going to make this team better. And that's the one thing you could always put your hat on with like a team that was very un-MLS proven, was like, hey, we can play a certain way and it's going to catch them off guard. Like, they've got that balance now, and they've got guys who have been here for a while now. Like, it's not, Messi's not new, Suarez isn't new. Like, these guys aren't new anymore. It's 3 years now, and I think it's only going to get harder and harder to beat them. So, yeah, credit to Miami. They are fully going for it, and they're spending a ton of money. I know it's frustrating to see people take discounts to play with Messi because we don't get that pull in other cities. But Landon Donovan said I saw a clip of him talking about it. He said that's exactly what happened with the Galaxy. It wasn't the same level because the league wasn't where it was at that point. But he said there were guys that were being offered double and triple to go to other MLS teams that were choosing to take a discount because they knew they were going to go to the Galaxy, play with Beckham, and win, and have all of that go on. So it's a different type of pull. And like you said, it happens in America. Like, guys take discounts and things to play with LeBron James when he was in his heyday. Yeah. Like, it happens in the NFL. Like, this stuff happens when you have the biggest name player in the world. It just does. So we'll see. I think they're going to be the villains, of course, naturally, but yeah, I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think
either love or hate Real Madrid. Like, it's one of those things.
Okay, well, let's move on here. We have some other signings we've got to run through. St. Louis is signing Mamadou Fall, young center back, Spain experience. I think he was in Barcelona's academy, and he has played for Villarreal. Tom Bogert was reporting quite a few teams are going after him. They're really excited about this kid's talent, and he's a very athletic center back. Likes to push the ball up as a center back, so kind of fits that mold of what they want to do in St. Louis, which is press and get up. So makes sense. Any insight from you on that one?
This now completes the duo of a fall and fall center back
Yes.
comparison. That is the most aesthetically pleasing thing you will see on a lineup sheet. So I'm excited for that. I mean, it's a good move. I think there's plenty of questions to be had with St. Louis, but I think that right now, and there's some transfers outbound for them that we'll cover here in a little bit, but it seems to me like they're kind of rebuilding from the back on. You know, you re-sign Berkey, you keep him under contract. Now you bring in Mamadou Fall to be next to Falou Fall. I'm gonna have so much fun with that. And another name under the radar that you should notice is Conrad Wallum. You know, not to make this not about the transfer anymore, but I think that's a strong rising name in this league. You look at just kind of he's played like every position for St. Louis last year, and the way he sat in the metrics is that he was above average in every single one too. So
Like
it'll be interesting. Yeah, I think his you know yeah, exactly. I think he's preferred left back. That's what he would tell you, but that doesn't mean they'll put him there because they could probably use him in a lot of other spots. So, anyways, interesting to watch with that. Interesting to watch with St. Louis. Definitely a team that we're starting pretty far back, kind of closer to square one than we are square 10, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's a promising move. Maybe something that can come out of it. You know, we'll see.
Yeah, it's also like I like when these teams use U22s for not attackers because I think they've been used as attackers so often. And we've seen it have success with center backs and defenders. Like as Cincinnati fans, we've seen Yerson Mosquera come on a similar deal and became an anchor for that team for that year. And that's the type of deal you can get, like build a guy's value and sell him on in a couple years. And I think that's ideally what they're trying to do. Moving on here, we have Orlando signing U22, another U22 center back. Lago. I love, by the way, favorite thing in sports is Brazilians with one name. That's just my favorite thing. They're signing him from Flamengo. Cool to see that we're pulling guys from like the Flamingos and that they see the MLS as like a way to develop themselves and go on somewhere else even larger than like a Flamingo and kind of envision that. And I think that this is why the U22 was set up. We can pull guys like this and not be on DPs and not be on high-end deals that really halt a team from going out and making a move like this. So cool to see. I think this is Orlando needs it. We saw them last year. They need center back help. Like there were the stretches where it felt like they were the best defense in the league for like 3 games, and then they'd allow 12 goals over 3 games. Yeah. So they need more consistency.
Yeah, this is the Robin Janssen partnership. I would think, I would assume if you go in like this, then it's probably you will trust this guy with, you know, being the normal starter, the choice starter here. And I still think they need more center back depth. So maybe they do slot someone in over him, but right now I think that puts a 4th center back on the roster that they may need one more. I just think that, you know, when injuries hit, that's the kind of thing. And they need a left back. Kyle Smith's gone. What are they going to do now? So, you know, you got David Brekalo, but he could also play center back too. It's just, they need some more help back there. I think this is a start, though. Janssen, I think, has been kind of his own right, maybe one of the more reliable center backs in this league. You know, like you said, you know, Orlando defense is pretty streaky. But I think that the highs of that came from really Robin Janssen's best, and the lows came from like kind of fatal flaws other places, and it wasn't falling on Robin. So all that to say, he needs a good center back partner. This may be it. This may just be depth. I'm not sure what the anticipation is with that, but it's definitely a step in the right direction addressing a need Orlando has.
Yeah. Another quick hitter. We don't really need to talk about this one. Just official news. Tadio Allende is officially back at Miami. He is not a DP. We talked about this plenty of other episodes. Just want to note that. So the MLS record holder for most goals in a playoff run is back in this attack for Miami. Moving on here to the next one. So this is the one you were prefacing a little bit with St. Louis. One of the stories that came out of nowhere. I think it was like Saturday night or something. It hit or it may have been Monday. It was like it hit and it was like, what? Like this is the move they made. LA Galaxy signing João Klaus from St. Louis, filling that medical DP slot for Ricky Puig. Two layers to this for me. One, I'm not going to be surprised to see him have success. Like I think I can see a world where he's not as bad as he was more recently for St. Louis, because I think he's just going to have better players around him. Two, this is as clear as day signing that was, for me, this is like a 1-year rental. Like this is just what it feels like. And I think we all thought it was going to be maybe a bigger signing that you would then move on a guy like Gabriel Peck after the season. But right now, as it sits, unless this goes great, I could see them just like moving on from this after this year, and then Ricky Puig is going to come back and fill the slot. So interesting in that sense. I saw very different emotions from Galaxy fans on social media. I think some people were excited about it, and I also saw, I think, non-Galaxy fans be a little bit more confused by this move.
Yeah, I think the DP spot is a heavy hit there. Klaus, granted, for a very different team, felt like at times didn't really play like he deserved that, or just didn't provide the production that you would like out of a designated player. And I think that I can get that, because when you're saying you're a designated player, like, okay, you are one of the best 3 players on the field for us. And I'm not sure that's the case with Klaus. I agree with you. This is a rental type thing. And we talked about this when Puig was announced missing this whole season. Is there's really, kind of 2 trains of thought you can take with this. You can either go hey, we can fill that DP spot with a like for Puig, get that production there in the midfield, or we move that DP slot somewhere else so that when Puig comes back, there's maybe a way to fit all these pieces of the puzzle together. And obviously they liked it for that. I the second, and I think that makes sense. I think it's a very wise, slow move, and that's what kind of makes me wonder if Klaus is not just a 1-year rental type deal, because there's a way of fitting all of that around. At the same time, you still have Christian Ramirez stashed on your bench, and the fall off, the just disappearance there has been crazy. So there's that going on. I think I'm still a little wary about this Galaxy team, if I'm being honest, and that's they could have gotten Bertrame, and I'm not sure that my opinion on that changes, only because they're rebuilding the spine. Obviously, Justin Hack, Jacob Glesnes, all in. That's fine and good. The midfield, otherwise, right now you're relying on Marco Reus as your cam, and that's really the only person who truly plays that position on this roster right now. That's a big problem for me because of how inconsistent his availability has been. Well, outside of that, I mean, we've got woeful keepers in net. I'm sorry, Novak Mikovic. I'm sorry, JT Marcinkowski. You guys, I mean, maybe there's an upswing, but it's basically 2 goalkeeper number 2s battling for the starting spot. And then on top of that, we just have Peck and Paintsill, who just came off of, years to forget. Was that related to Puig's absence? Maybe we'll find out here soon. But I'm still worried about this Galaxy team, and I'm not sure that, signing this DP, even as Klaus, like, where it's not the highest caliber DP you think. Like, I don't know. They could have signed a superstar. I still would have been worried, but now that they didn't, and it's Klaus, I'm even more worried. I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I think everyone thought it was going to be a sexier name. And I think it's a little bit of a, whoa, didn't expect that type of reaction. So I'm more optimistic. I do think almost everything went wrong for the Galaxy last year, and I just don't imagine that happening twice. I also don't think they're done. Like I think they're going to go do some interleague movement for that midfield because they do need help in that midfield. So will be interesting to see if they do anything there. Moving on here, we've got Atlanta signing or potentially signing, not official, Guido Rodriguez from West Ham, long-time servant at West Ham, been a reliable center. Like he's more of a true six like type role, so he's a deep lying like playmaker, and I think this isn't bad for Atlanta. Like they had a lot of inconsistency in the midfield last year, and they need people in there that can hold it steady. He is getting older, so I'm concerned about how much more time he has to offer at a high level. So we'll see how that plays. But I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. You're bringing in Premier League type talent that isn't like fully retiring. So
Yeah.
I think this is a solid move, and I trust Tata to get the best out of it.
And I think it's interesting too. You talk about where this fits in this roster. You know, they also signed Steven Alzate. I don't know if we talked about that one yet. A championship, also defensive midfielder. You could look at a 6, maybe more of an 8. And he's already on a TAM deal, so that would mean that we'd have to see a similar deal here too. The 3 DP spots are already wrapped up. So they're taking the investment that they're putting in this offseason. Granted, it has not been as much as other seasons, but they're big splashes that we're used to with Atlanta. Their hands are tied contractually, but they're taking their investments and putting it behind the ball instead of in front of it. I think that's again, talk about like trying to get some ground back, get some traction back. That's a good place to look because especially behind that midfield, this is going to be a very different team. Brad Guzan's gone, the leadership and net also gone with it. You maybe have Jaden Hibbert as your starter there, or Lucas Hoyos, whoever wins that. I think that was the Argentine that Tata signed. So, any direction could happen there because it seems like there's definitely a theme with who all we're bringing back for Atlanta, and it's Argentinian as well with our man Tata Martino. So we'll see how that goes. I just again, I don't know if it's one of those things you can see it on paper and you say, yeah, but what Atlanta did last season, like it was so tough. But then it's Tata, it's not Ronnie Dyla. It does like it's smart, like you said, not the sexy names, but I mean we're talking about a name right now that's playing in Premier League. I mean having that experience, having that solidity in the midfield, midfield could be a great thing for them. So this one I actually feel kind of unopinionated on. I'm a little bit wary to go either way on. So I'm gonna leave it at like seems all right. Let's see it. We thought Matu's click going to Atlanta was gonna be sick, and then
nothing,
anything but yeah.
I think that it's just that category of like the LA Galaxy and the Atlanta. Like they're kind of in the same boat. We have to see it on the field before we really put some opinions out there because they have talent. It's just about can it really click and go together on the field. One last signing before we get into one major story that broke this week is the Red Bull signing Ethan Horvath. Many of you may know him from his PK penalty shot save against Mexico in extra time, and became kind of a folk hero in that sense. Has played in the championship for a while now. Has been like a pretty solid to really good championship goalie at times. Never really made a jump from there. And I think he's started to lose his spot, so he was looking for somewhere else to get more consistent playing time. I mean, they need a goalkeeper. They need someone to replace Cornell. So, in my mind, it's a pretty safe move. Like, I can't imagine he's not going to be at least a middle tier MLS goalkeeper from the experience that he has. So, I mean, solid move. It's hard to like judge a goalkeeper move until you see it in action, but from what we've seen, and of course him with the national team, feels like this could be just a guy that's really can steady the ship back there in net.
Yeah, I mean it's a very good move for him, I think, in terms of national team and trying to squeak onto this World Cup roster. I know you're making that face, but right now our starting keeper is the other New York goalie in MLS.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not making a face because he
Yeah.
I don't think he's talented or it's because he's going to the MLS. I'm making the face because it's been a while since we've actually seen him really get some reps.
Sure, sure. But okay, if he shows up and he's lights out, he's doing amazing on all the metrics. I mean, you can compare him directly to Matt Turner and
Yeah.
to Matt Freese. Yeah, they're all right there, East Coast MLS. Let's go, come on. So
They are like
yeah,
quite
they're
literally all
they're
right next to
probably
each
hanging
other.
out. Like that's
Goalkeeper
so
union up there.
yeah, exactly. So I think that it really puts him in a very comparable light compared to everybody else, and Potch is already or yeah, I mean, like he's just showing a lot of the favoritism towards MLS in different lights. And you got to be playing at your club. And Ethan Horvath notices he's slipping a little bit, goes to somewhere he's going to start in and out. He's going to stay in that light. So I think this is a really wise move from him. I'm sure it's nice for him to come home too, or closer to home, that is. So all of those things, I think it makes a lot of sense for both player and for club and potentially for country. So I like the move a lot. I think that it is one that has been thought through and probably an easy one, honestly, to push through because everybody probably wants it. So
Yeah, a pretty safe move in my mind. So I think this is a good signing for Red Bulls. Okay, now the story. I had texted our group chat and said I would have possibly ended the podcast if this deal would have went through. And the story is Inter Miami made a $13 million bid for Denny Buwanga. So I think everyone got a little scared after the Blackman news. Like this would have been that times 10.
yeah,
I mean, Denny Buwanga is an MVP type talent in this league, and if Miami would have got him, of course it would have been with they wouldn't have got Bertarame, and
yeah,
it would have been the signing. That would have been the scariest lineup you could possibly put together in MLS history, and they already might have that. But it was interesting. Like it's interesting that they went for it. It sounded like got turned down pretty quick. Like it was
yeah,
like, yeah, we're not interested in doing this. One, because I think here soon they're going to sell him out of the MLS. That's just something I imagine is going to happen eventually. We'll see. But there was also a little bit of fallout. So I think it was initially reported like Denny Bouanga wasn't really interested in it either. Like that wasn't really something he wanted to do. Like he wants to stay at LAFC. But he did like retweet this tweet
yes,
that said like when you want to make a move but the club shuts you down or something along those
yeah.
lines.
It was something like that. Yeah, when it was a
I don't
dream
know how
move
that's
for the club.
like
Yeah,
something a guy's doing that didn't want it to happen. So
right.
a little bit of drama there. I don't know if it's just gonna like blow over and it's just like is what it is. I don't think it makes any sense for LAFC to make this move. Like you don't go invest for Heung-min Son in all these things if you're
Right.
just gonna sell Bouanga. So interesting. I think it's going to be a story to watch now to see if Bouanga tries to make a move out of LAFC eventually, and because that type of tweet doesn't get sent without purpose.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean that like felt like he basically typed that through his burner and then retweeted it on his main. But I think that the interesting part there is like I wonder how much of that is a grass is greener on the other side for him.
Yeah,
Like the partnership between him and Son like has been amazing. And I just don't know if that's really the same partnership you would get with Messi that you think it is. And like obviously he's gonna feed in some amazing balls running in behind, and that's Bowanga's thing is give me the ball and I'll run right at you. That's also his Messi's thing. Be on the ball. I'll beat you. That Allende's thing is pass me in behind. Like I don't know. It just felt like the on the field part of that was like yeah oh yeah. I mean that's the sexy name that you're talking about.
it,
That's
we all know it would work, Tony.
it
We know
would.
what I'm talking
I mean
about a lot
yes,
of it.
we'd figure out a way for it to work, but would it work as well as Sun and Bawanga have, which we didn't know if it was going to work. They play the same position practically, yeah, but I don't know. This truly is one of those maybe that would make too many cooks in the kitchen type thing. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not saying yay or nay, but it is one of those things where I just kind of think like you have a really good man. Like there's
Yeah,
play like I don't know. There's
you're
very
you're
good
the star
players
on
that are
the
looking and saying, I don't get to
yeah
play with Son or Bouanga. Like
yeah
what's
you're
up
the
with that? You know?
you're the star in one of the biggest franchises in MLS, and
Correct.
you'd become almost like second or third fiddle on this Miami side. So,
Yeah.
I mean, once again, I think this is a Messi pool. Like, I think this is a guy saying, "Oh, that was a chance to play with Messi, like the greatest player ever." So
Yeah, yeah.
it's all interesting. I'm gonna keep tabs. Like, I'm gonna put this in my back pocket. Be like, let's see what happens in the next transfer window after this story. Like that's what I'm interested in. So we'll see if anything comes of it. Okay, before we get into some USA news here, there were some rule changes in the MLS this season, Tony, that got implemented today as we're recording this. The summer transfer window is now open until September 2nd, so that's going to help just align better with what's going on in the rest of the world. And a lot of this is, I think, temporary type stuff because the changes we're going to make are going to fit within this anyways.
Mm-hmm.
The winter window is shorter to allow for the summer window, so I think it's like only a certain amount of allotted days you're allowed to have. So I think that is why that's happening. Canadian MLS clubs are to follow the U.S. soccer windows now, so they're all going to be aligned. There's no limit on cash trades. Last year, clubs could only acquire 2 players and only trade away 2 players per year in cash trades. That one, I didn't know that existed, honestly. I'll go hand up on that.
Yeah.
That's really weird that the rule is in place. I don't really get that. I love that they're getting rid of it because it's going to be even more play, like trading of players and moving players around. So I'm interested to see how that plays. And then there's also no age restrictions in interleague loans. Another rule. I was like, that was a rule? Like, what is the point of that?
Yeah.
And a story came out. I guess the Galaxy tried to move Ramirez this past year in a deal, but that rule is in place, so they couldn't do it. And it's interesting that type of stuff was in place. I would love to know why that stuff was in place, like what was the reasoning for it originally. But it is nice to see the league be a little self-reflective and say these rules don't make sense. We should get rid of them.
Yeah. I mean, with the transfer window stuff, I think that's kind of not basic, but generally good. You're taking a few days off of the winter window, but it's the off season for us. I understand a lot of things are moving, but it's also like a lot of things are moving outside. You know what you need as a team, and very rarely are you getting injury news that your player is going to be out for an entire year, unless you're the LA Galaxy during the winter. So I don't mind that. You get more stability in the summer, trying to figure that out. And generally, like that's kind of what all these rules are. It's kind of loosening how much you can move around players in the league. So I appreciate that because I think it allows teams that even if you are in a weird situation where it's okay, hey, we flipped our big name, made a great amount of money on it, but now we're in a rebuild. I think it accelerates that rebuild process. Being able to buy in 2 more guys or unlimited guys instead of 2 guys on a cash for being able to get a wider range of people even in and out on loans. I think that's all good things to further the product of this league, really, that people can field better teams quicker. The limit at 2, I think I agree with you, is interesting, and I don't truly know this, but I kind of thought this when I saw that was that when we first rolled out the cash for thing, we didn't exactly know what that was going to look like or how that was going to pan out. So before just everybody lets loose on this, like, hey, let's limit this to 2 right now and see how it plays. And I think, after that first year, we saw like, oh yeah, people aren't even really touching 2 cashers. We can just open this up, and if someone wants to go gangbusters, that's on them. And with the loan stuff too, I don't know the true reason for that, other than I think that the idea has been in MLS, and it's sort of getting a little bit away from it, was trying to be work on the selling aspect of the league. Like the U22 spot was created so that we could bring in young players and develop them. There's incentive for playing them. There's incentive for adding them on your roster, even if they do cost more because they don't hit your budget charge like a DP player does. unlike like a DP player does it, they don't hit the budget charge. So there's these reasons, and so like I think that when there's an age limit on the loans, it really only like it doesn't let an older guy take a younger guy's chance at moving somewhere and improving. And I think that was the reason for that. I mean that's what I'm intuiting right now. No one has sat me down and told me these things, but that's what makes sense to me is that it really creates a pathway for these younger guys when we were really trying to emphasize like, hey, we need to present products to the world game as well. We can't just start taking in all these retired guys. We need to put out. So I think that's what all that was about. You could tell me whether you disagree on that or not, but that generally is the feel I'm getting from it.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think these are kind of no-brainer type moves that are slowly getting us to the point of looking more like the rest of the world and how they operate. And I think the schedule change is going to be pushing a lot of changes rule changes that are going to come over the next few years for the league. So it will be interesting to see how it all looks. Really quick, I didn't even have it on my notes section here, but this definitely did happen this past week. Kansas City sold majority ownership to one of their minority owners, so someone who's already had some stake in it. The original ownership is still staying on as a minority owner, so they're kind of just like flip-flopping in a sense. The talk is that they're going to be spending more money on the players on the field and investing more now, and that's always a good thing. I think it's a wait and see to know if that's actually going to happen, because I think every owner likes to come in and say that before they realize what they're getting into. Now, this is an ownership group that already owns the Kansas City Royals, I believe, so they're not an ownership group that it's new to them, that they know how businesses are run and how they operate. Now, Kansas City isn't the biggest spending team in the world, in the baseball world, so I don't know if that will translate at all over to the soccer team. So will be interesting to see how that plays out. But just quick note for the Kansas City listeners out there that you do have technically new ownership who was an owner before, and you still have the same owner. You got the same ownership team.
This is like when Newcastle got bought by some Saudi guys, and they were all rejoicing. They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna be big time now," and then nothing really happened for them. I mean, some bigger transfers, I guess, but the nice thing about this that I'll chip in real quick is that it is like it's nice to see an evaluation at like 700 million for an MLS team that is a smaller team. Mm-hmm. And my understanding is that even out evaluated like the Forbes list that you see every few months floating around, and people say, how in the world are these teams worth that much? That's real money at work. That is not an approximation, and shows you the value of what some people really view this league. So I think that's a fun, cool thing. And like I said, hopefully for Kansas City, that kind of ushers them into a new era with the spending and what their product looks like on the field. But that is hey, he just got in the door. We got to give him a minute to start figuring all this out.
Yeah. Okay, let's move into some USA talk here. This is a USA/MLS story to start. Josh Sargent, we talked about last episode a ton. There's some drama going on, Tony, because this move is not going pretty. Josh Sargent, of course, we talked about last episode, forced his hand a little bit and told the coach that he didn't want to play over text, which I don't think is ever a great idea. I don't know if... We don't know... Okay, let me preface this. We don't know every single detail that's going on. I saw a ton of people getting after Josh Sargent, which I understand if it all went the way that's being portrayed. I can't sit here and believe that he's just doing this just because. I think he's got to have some reasoning that he's been promised some things or not promised some things, and he feels like he has to do this to make this move. He has tried to make a move to MLS before, and they've denied it, and he hasn't thrown a fit, and now he's choosing to kind of force it a little bit. And I think it's probably because he's had multiple times to try to leave, and they haven't let it happen. So we'll see. I'm sure there's going to be a story that comes out eventually after this all passes through. But he's been training with the U21s at Norwich. Has reporting now there was a meeting, and it was either the ownership group or like the coach insulted his family and made remarks about his family that he was not happy with. So he has just come out and basically said, I am not playing for Norwich anymore, to really force that play here. So gut instinct is this move happens in some degree. I think they have to pay a little bit more than maybe what the original $18 million is just to make it happen. But it is like a tug of war a little bit because he has a relegation clause in his contract that he leaves for free this season if they get relegated, and they're in the relegation spot currently. I don't think they'll finish there, but it is like a little bit of, they don't have all the power because you can point to that and say, we know this is there, so you can't just act like you're completely safe in the situation. So, like I said, I think it happens. I feel bad for Josh that it has to go this way. I feel bad for Norwich to a degree as well that this is happening during a relegation battle, and it's now just become a complete mess. And I think everyone's going to be breaking up very unhappy when in reality, 99% of his time at Norwich, he's been a great servant and a great player on the field.
Yeah, for sure. It's not, you never want to see this. It sucks that it's come to this. And, like kind of said, not to relate overly with Norwich, but it's understandable. The relegation battle is a huge part of just the context of this because they're trying to hold on to him. He's their mainstay striker, and then to sell him while you're getting relegated, is a tough look. So I understand it from that perspective. And I also understand, like, I've seen internet theories that, people are saying, Norwich is fine with that fee. They're just trying to get as many games out of him as they can before he leaves. But, I mean, obviously that timer has ran out too because now he's sitting out games. He's training with the second team. He's not, he's not involved with that anymore and seen visibly upset around training camp and stuff. So, that's where it's like, okay, well, like, what are we doing here? Why are we still holding this out? And that's where the frustration boils in against Norwich. And then I'm sure for Toronto too, and MLS in general, like, hello, he wants to take this, agree to our feet, and again, we're not behind those closed doors between Toronto and Norwich. Maybe they said, hey, get to this, and Toronto said, no, we're not getting to this, and started talking to Josh Sargent, got terms agreed, and now, like, things kind of flip on Norwich like that. We don't see all of that. It's very possible that could take place. It's very possible it couldn't. It's just one of those things where you do have to keep a little bit of an open mind because a lot of those details, like, cannot be shared with us and may never be shared with us. Like you said, like, something may have been told to Josh that we don't know, and that's really accelerated some of this timeline too. We don't know that stuff. So as a fan watching from the outside, you just cross your fingers that they find a resolution on this, and then it doesn't have to get really any worse. And honestly, not to, like, drag it around, but, like, it's hard to imagine it gets too much worse than where it's at right now. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, you don't want to see him waste a year just sitting on the bench because of all this, because the transfer doesn't get done. So the hope is that it will. Moving on here, a little bit more USA talk. Weston McKennie. We've talked about him quite a few times because he keeps rolling, Tony. He is on an unbelievable streak now. He has scored in 3 straight Champions League games for Juventus. He is now, all-time for Juventus, the second highest scoring midfielder in Champions League history. That sentence is insane. Just the history that this team has in their midfield, guys like Pirlo, and he just passes it on as to go to second all-time. Like, saying those names in the same sentence as Weston McKennie is crazy because of the story of Weston McKennie at Juventus. Like, he has not been seen as a consistent player for them by their coaches over and over and over, and he has to reprove himself. And he continues at this point in the year, it feels like every year, hit his groove and becomes an everyday player. And I think he's now started 25 or 26 straight games for them and continues to just be a productive player and plays 4 different positions. And it's impressive to see what he's doing. His goal was great in that game in the Champions League victory they had. And it's just cool to see an American player making waves like this in the international level. And I know the talking point early on was, could he go to the MLS? there's now rumors that there's Premier League teams that want to get on the bidding for Weston McKennie. So I think it is awesome to see him take this growth right before the World Cup, because if he continues like this in the World Cup, his status is going to go sky high.
Yeah.
And you could see a major move to a Premier League club, which would be really cool to see.
Yeah, we just got to, as USA fans, cross our fingers that this form can stay.
No injuries, please
When World
God.
Cup, when World Cup time rolls around. I mean, this is what you want to see, though, is, you know, we've got the folks that we feel very confident in, the Pulisic's, the McKinneys, the Tyler Adams. I mean, we're going to need, like, we talk about, like, wanting a full roster, but we need those guys to be playing at their ceilings, too. Like, we need them reaching their max potential, which is something that, obviously Pulisic has been nuclear at AC Milan. Cooled off a little bit recent, but, we need those guys, like, ready to do that at the World Cup for us. Because, I mean, everybody's bringing their A game, obviously, but that's how USA makes a surprise or two in the later rounds of this thing, is like everybody playing at their ceiling and our stars playing like the world-class stars that they can be. So, yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see that. It's affirming as a fan to know, we believe that Weston has this in his bag. We've seen him do it before. We're seeing him do it now. We can see him do it again this summer. So it's really exciting to watch.
Yeah. I think continuing the trend here of USA players that are impressing, we've got 2 strikers in the championship. Speaking of comparing to Josh Sargent, who's in the championship technically right now, is Haji Wright and Patrick Ajiman. Both have scored goals over the last week to win games for their teams in Derby and Coventry. Haji Wright went on a little bit of a drought there, but now has scored 2 straight game-winning goals for Coventry in like the 80th minute plus. So that's cool to see. And Patrick Ajiman is a guy specifically, Tony, I want to run by you, because he played a lot in the USA cycle early on under Poch, was getting a ton of opportunities. And I've got to imagine the goal to play for the USA in the World Cup was partly the motivation for him to go to the championship in the first place and to make that move. And he's playing damn good right now for Derby County. Like he is playing really well. And I want to start the conversation, and I've seen it in a couple spots. Could we see Patrick Ajiman make this roster over Pepe? And I know it's going to depend on how many guys we take at that position, because of the expanded rosters. You don't really know what they're going to go with in this scenario. I think we're only going to take 3 strikers, because I think we have guys who can, like a Pulisic or somebody who can play striker if needed. And right now, with Pepe being injured, he's probably not going to be healthy for that March camp. I got to imagine Ajiman's the guy getting that call at this point. Haji Wright, for me, is still firm number 2, because I think he's done it at the national team level consistently on top of his play at Coventry. But I think that number 3 spot is definitely there for the taking for Patrick Ajiman right now.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, what do you value more, Eredivisie or the championship? And like, I mean,
and
it's
health.
not going to be. What's that?
And just health. Like I legitimately think you could have concerns about Pepe and his health, like that playing a factor is, hey, we solidify the roster, you're making the team, and he gets another injury. Like you can't be battling that kind of stuff either. So I feel bad, because I hate this being the conversation for Pepe, because he's been so good for PSV. It's just the reliability factor is the main issue for him right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess what I'm getting at here is, like, you can, like, when comparing these two, I think you can wipe out any comparison, like their importance for their club and their minutes. I think both of them are, going to be the called on striker. So you can't say, oh, one guy's starting, one guy's not. This is, whatever. You wipe that off the slate. And I think you'd agree with me in saying that, like, Pepe, when he's on, is more likely in form than he's not with PSV. So that's the part where, okay, if Ajiman matches that, if he matches he's on too, and they're both scoring a goal every other game, which doesn't now seem unrealistic, seeing the trajectory that Ajiman's on and how he's been playing. then that's, to me, in the eyes of the coaches, okay, what do you value more? You can also talk about too, like, I mean, they are different players. Do you need that target man versus do you need more of a pest in the box? A true kind of finisher in Pepe. So there's a couple angles you can look at it like that as well. But I feel like very rudimentary, like that. They're not thinking about who. I mean, maybe they are a little bit, but what they're going to prefer to sub on, or even sub on and added time in the 115th minute. I don't think they're going to be looking at it that way so much as they are, who can we trust to really be informed, to be healthy, to your point. And on this roster, we can't scrub you late. So it is an interesting conversation, though. I agree, like, to you, that it sucks that it kind of comes down to a little bit of availability, but that's props to Ajiman for forcing it to get to that point. And I hope you get better Pepe, because it's always good to see him get in action, right? So that's the two sides of it. I think your comment on Haji Wright being the number 2 is interesting, because I think that I kind of feel like these two, like, to me, Pepe's the number 2, and if he's healthy, yeah.
That's not how it went the last camp, though. Haji Wright got all the opportunities above
not
him.
yet, but and Pepe, like, because wasn't he just coming back from injury at that point too, on that last camp?
He'd been playing. He got subbed on in the game. Haji Wright played one of the games ahead of him.
Yeah,
it was the last game. Haji Wright started that game, and Balogun had started the first game, and Pepe had subbed on at some point for Balogun in the other game and got like 20, 30 minutes, did not play well. In that last game, you assumed Pepe was going to get another opportunity, and he subbed on Balogun to replace Haji Wright in that game.
That's
and
right.
This is my case right now. And I think this is what's working against Pepe, and I think a lot of it has to do with injury. We've never seen him play under Poch. Like, legitimately, since Poch has taken over, he's been too hurt to be available for camps. And the only camp he was this previous camp, and he got 20 minutes of game time during that camp. Ajiman, Poch has played Ajiman as a starter in like 5 to 6 games during the time that he's been the manager.
Yeah, but the context of who was available in that too, like, that wasn't him starting over Balogun.
That's my point. Yeah. He has worked with Ajiman a ton, and he continues to work with him because Ajiman's been available. Ricardo Pepi hasn't been available, and I think that's going to be part of the decision making of Poch. Is he doesn't need technically all, and I think I'm listening to Tim Howard and Landon talk about this a little bit too. Not necessarily for these guys, but when it comes down to it, they're not going to pick the best 26 players. They're not just going to go, who are the most talented 26 players. They're, especially in those second to third guys for the positions, they're going to say, okay, who can we rely upon in the certain situations like you talked about, and like subbing on and when do we need them, and who can we rely on because we know them and they know what to expect from us. It's because we've worked with them. And I just think time is killing Pepe and this latest injury, because I do think if he doesn't get this latest injury, the way he was playing, he was clear-cut above Pat Ajiman. Like, I think there was no doubt in my mind that he was going to make it over him. But when he's going to be out now till March, April, probably miss the camp, only play a little bit before the end of the season, I think the fear is that if he doesn't come back from that injury and he's not on fire like we've seen him, he's not going to get that opportunity. And I think if Ajiman keeps it up and he goes to the March camp, and if Ajiman shows up that March camp and he scores a goal, like substituting or something, like, I don't see how Pepe's bouncing back. And I feel bad because I love Ricardo Pepi. He's played well for the national team. He's played well for PSV. I just think injuries are going to kill him in making this roster. And this all may be for naught because they might just bring 4 strikers, and I might just this conversation might not matter. I'm saying in this situation that they bring 3, Pat Ajiman has the opportunity to really take advantage over the next 3 months of the situation. And That was the one clip I did see Tim Howard say. I bet Patrick Ajibot sent Ricardo Pepi a text and said, "Hope you feel better, man. Like I hope you get better." But he said, "I bet he put down that phone and he like put his hands together and he was like, this is my chance because he has a runway now, national team and club wise, to make an impact and to prove that he should be on the roster. And I just think reliability is going to hurt Pepe. And Poch is a guy to me that has proven that he's not just going to take the best player. He's going to take a guy that he knows and is familiar with over some of the guys that are probably not going to make it. Like Christian Roldan is probably going to make this roster. Like I've just like cemented that in my head because Pochettino loves him and he's like publicly said that. So it's going to be interesting. I think I'm like counting down the days till March because I just want to see who makes this March roster because that's going to be the most telling thing of it all and who makes an impact because they're playing some tough games in these windows too against some tough opponents and it's getting me excited. It's only January 22nd. I'm like, come on, give me something to bite onto here to give me an idea of what Pochettino's thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. There's a shot for Ajimon. It's there, and that injury created that Pepe injury created that for him. And like I'm like trying to agree with you while offering another take that like, yes, there's the familiarity, right? But there's also the play for your club, act like you want to be here. And I'm not saying that Ajimon doesn't have any of that, but I think that Pepe does when he's healthy. And I know that's the big asterisk, right? And that's honestly what all of this really entire conversation hinges upon, right? Is how available he is. But there's been so many examples made out of the selection or higher name guys left off that will eventually go on to be on this World Cup roster, right? To light a fire under their butt. And I think that from a USA perspective, this is the fire you want lit right now. Is you want these two looking at each other and saying, probably only one of us can go, and really laying it out there to spark that conversation. So when it comes down to that last pick at striker, supposedly, then that's a really hard decision because, if they're really both like playing like they mean it, in hit form, that's a great problem to have if you're a U.S. men's national team coach trying to like boil this down and figure that out. And yeah. I don't know which way you go with that yet. I don't.
I don't think right now there's not a ton separating them, and I think that is why I'm leaning towards Ajimon because of the injury thing. Like that's the cloud, and we'll see. I mean, hopefully Pepe gets healthier faster than we think, and he's able to come back and prove himself. Like at least it's not like a leg or something that he's really needs to play his position. Like it's his hand, so or his arm. So hopefully, maybe he'll just put a cast in that thing and just roll out, and he'll just be ready to go. People. It's all interesting. I really do think Haji Wright is number 2 no matter what over these guys. Like I don't see a situation where the other one passes him. Well, I'm only saying that because I think Balogun's firm number 1. Like what he's doing in the Champions League and things for Monaco and just talent wise, he's gonna start. But I think Haji Wright's body type is what I think they like is like he's very different. He's huge. Like he's a ginormous striker and brings an element where that to me is the super sub element that he has of, hey, we need a body in there because we're going to be in the attacking half because we're down a goal. We got to go get one. Put Haji right in there because he's going to take up so much space. And he can get on a ball. So I just think that's what he brings from a physical standpoint that's a little bit bigger than these other two. So I think the way he's playing club-wise and his health, he's just slotted in there for me as of right now. So we'll see, man. A lot can change in 3 months. We've seen it. We went from Poch out to Poch is the best coach we've had in a long time in about 3-6 months. So you never know. And hopefully we don't lose him to Tottenham before the World Cup starts. That's just my only fear at this point.
No.
So. No, all jokes aside, he'll probably go after the World Cup though.
You wish, yeah.
Okay. Well, Tony, that's all I had for you. Thanks for that first take debate that we had at the end of the episode there. Survive the winter. Don't get trapped in. Don't lose your power. Maybe go get a second space heater and ruin someone else's pipes for them. And stay safe. But we appreciate all the listeners tuning in for this another Friday episode. Tony, we're gonna be back to 2 episodes a week here soon because we're creeping into February where we're gonna be having some games. Next month there's games here.
It's like
4 weeks.
A month from today.
Yeah, Oh gosh, and just a little tease for the listeners. Me and Tony are actually in London the weekend of the first set of games, so we'll need to figure out what we're doing podcast wise that weekend. So we apologize. Maybe we'll do a live pod from London. Yeah, we'll do a short. Maybe just gotta tune into the socials that weekend because we'll probably just be posting stuff from London and doing some predictions and watching MLS games at 3 a.m. So, but we appreciate you guys listening. We encourage you to go to the social medias, check them out: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, things like that. And then also don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and make sure you hit that follow button on Spotify and Apple and wherever you're listening at. We appreciate you.
Hit all the buttons.
But we will see you guys next Friday with, I'm sure, some more off-season news, and there is some preseason happening. So if any injuries or anything pop up, we'll make sure to talk about that too. And with that being said, we'll see you next time.